All right, so we wanted to do a video to go over the mentoring guidance. Me and Brandon had actually filmed this earlier, and there was a very critical part that I had missed. I'm not sure if it was just being nervous with all the cameras and things, but it's quite a critical step, and it's the very first step that you're supposed to do. So I am going to be posting the video that we filmed alongside this one, but I'm going to post this one first, so if there's any confusion on timeline, just know this one was filmed after the one we're going to release. So part 2 was filmed before, and part 1 is filmed after. When I very first am doing the coaching, I should be asking the question or prompting him to describe for me the next 91 days. And the rule is that I'm not supposed to deep dive. I'm just supposed to say, keep going, keep going. When I interviewed Brandon on the last video, I skipped this part and deep dived into his work, some of his work stuff. Now, again, on the last video, I did kind of talk about that it is because we're prompting in this more of a public setting or more of a learning setting, and I'm stopping at the camera, then Brandon's not really getting a full coaching experience. We're just touching on different parts, and I have to turn and describe things. So I'm going to do the best I can to not describe, because I had done some describing on the last video. But just know that the very first prompt is that you should be able to ask the mentee what the next 91 days look like and tell them to keep describing it until they are exhausted of words. And you keep saying anything else. That's good. And you keep saying anything else, anything else. And you don't try to direct the conversation when they first are describing their next 91 days. Now, as a mentor, or the one over you, they should conduct and to say where the focus should be. But the very best thing to do, as far as this exercise is concerned with the mentoring guidance, is to let the mentee get exhausted of describing till they say, yeah, I don't have anything more to describe. So, with that being said, then I am going to do that for you today, Brandon, and we will attempt to go through just that specific part that I missed. If there are things that, again, like last time, if there are things you want to skip, then that's all right. Or even if there's stuff that maybe has changed since we last gone through it, then that's okay. Then that's okay to just kind of describe. So, describe for me the next 91 days.
So as far as work, like what we were talking about, we want things to get structured. So by the end of the 91 days, I want there to be a structure in place. I want there to be the policies and procedures, everything in place that needs to be there in order to have the best care for our patients, like we talked about before. And I really in fact, I wrote it on my action plan for the weeks. I'm focusing on connecting me to my family and then connecting the family as a whole to Heavenly Father. And I want that connection to be secure and almost just knowing that it's there and that we're going to do all right because of that.
One thing I do want to note is Brandon's voice is a little bit gone. So if
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I'd also want you to pull out your phone to do audio recording. I really should have like the steps kind of pulled together. I have a document that I do have them recorded. It's just been a flurry just to try to get things together that I figured that if we got these videos and System of Achievement released at 80%, then it would be worth it rather than postponing and waiting. Okay, I guess we're going to wait another 91 days because we had some of the stuff ready last time around, but we really needed to test some of the things out. And so this time around, even if we're at 80% of what we should be, then I think that's enough. I think people are I think some people are overwhelmed at the 10% of what the 91-day plan is, so that's okay. So talked about connecting with family and then connecting family to Heavenly Father. So one thing just to note on the video is that I I want to make these placeholders in these boxes to be able to do deep dives. And so, for example, in the love box, then I've put connecting with family, and then in the afterlife glory, I put connecting family to Heavenly Father. Quite simply, I just put those down. And what I didn't do last time was put it down and then have you keep going and keep describing without promptings from me. So this time around, what I'm doing is writing what I would want to prompt or what I would deep dive into to say that describe more of what this looks like. But I don't want to yet. I want it to be fully coming off of what you're trying to shuffle around in your brain and what you're trying to pull out.
Lay it all down first.
Yeah, so I want to be able to just get a full scope of what you're thinking for the next 91 days. So connecting family to Heavenly Father, and then what else?
Really just organizing and structuring life.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have it on there. Figure out a structure, like making sure the things are getting done that need to get done. I don't know how much detail we want to go into.
The goal is to have the mentee go through and really describe. So it isn't for you to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you to just kind of dump that out and to really just talk and to some regards, put it out on a table. And so if you say, well, do I want to, should you say or should you go into it, then, just do it the best that you can. Just put everything out on the table.
Okay. Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm not doing that need to get done. And so when I say structure, I mean have my life structured in a way, or have things structured in a way where things will get done that need to happen. Then obviously there's tons of stuff at work that I can't find time to work on.
Okay.
And then I want it all to be in harmony with what Heavenly Father wants, and make sure that we're on the right track and the right page and that our priorities are straight.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one thing I've done just since the last time is I started, because you mentioned you sit down and you go through the week with your family. I actually started doing that. So that's a great idea. And so we've already done it twice because we've 2 weeks since. Sat down, we discussed the week, laid it out, clears so much up. The communication is so much better. But things like that was a big structuring step in for me and my family, and it's helping a lot. So
that's good. Yeah. So you talked about organizing life. Kind of hard to find time at work to do the things you need to. You want everything to be in line with Heavenly Father. Anything else as far as the next 91 days?
As far as like big accomplishments, I'm working on a couple of courses at work. I'd like to get through those. Oh, and I'm doing my school as well. So I want to get through all my classes.
That is a busy schedule.
That I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to get done in the next 6 months, which is it's doable. I'm confident we'll do it. School, and I'm taking some classes for work that are going to be good. I want to get those in too.
Okay. So one thing I want to say with in regards to this mentoring guidance, there's for sure a more efficient document that can house some of these things that we're talking about. I didn't include it in this 91 day because it was still in development. It was like 3 days ago that I actually just finished it out. And so if you feel like that it's very difficult to even place where some of these things are, it's like, where should this go? Where should this go? For example, he's talking about managing classes for work. I'm just assuming that's going to bring value to work and putting it in a value box and leaving it at that. For now, it really is just to kind of placehold some of these things. With that other document, it will be more efficient in its exercise, but don't ever let an inefficient system prevent you from trying the system and going through that system, because even as I'm going through this here, we will be able to completely follow what we need to and be able to go over what we need to. I just realized I have a lot of stuff internally in myself that I kind of place here, where it might throw a lot of people off. If I have this other document, it's going to be able to make things a lot easier for people. So let's get back into what you're talking about. So managing school, one of the things of next 90 days, find a way to manage school. You're going through classes for work. Anything else?
I'd like to develop some habits, workout routine.
Okay.
Which I've actually have started this first couple weeks for this first 91-day plan. This first week I've started that already.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that's gonna help me get in the mindset of getting everything else organized, and it's an easy thing.
Yeah. And how's that been going for you?
It's going good. Got every day so far.
Cool.
Every day plan, 5 days a week. So
the work days.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I think that's it for now. And one thing I was wondering about is I have these things, so like for the workout routine. I also have some breathing stuff that I try to do, but I know those aren't as important as the other things, or in my head they're not, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do I try to shoot for those as well as everything else, or is it just these other things? And then that.
Yeah.
Because the thing I feel like is going to happen is I'm going to do those things. And be like, well, I did something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I've found myself with the 91 day, if I'm touching base every week, your brain starts to get a little bit tired of not doing something. So what I mean by that is that you have established that habit and you're touching base every week. It's almost going to become old news to you, to where you're going to want to fill the time with other stuff. So as you go through, and maybe you say, I have this workout or this breathing exercise, but if I have this other area of life that needs help more, and it's more of an emergency, then you may shift gears and say, you know what, I'm going to use that time for this other thing, or maybe alternate that. Mondays is this workout and Tuesdays is this, or whatever it is. But I think that everybody's different, so it's hard to say exactly what would happen. But I think for you, then just plan on getting this done. And if you have those things, good. And then touch base each time within your 91 day and see if that alleviates the potential problem of saying, well, yeah, I finally integrated these things and now I'm doing great. And the other thing is really pay attention to the closeout or break days.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you go into those calendars, and you'll see it's like, well, this is a prep day, closeout day, and somewhat of a vacation day. It is nice that if you are going full steam and you're hitting this thing or getting this done, you'll find that necessity to make sure you take some of those breaks and take some of those times to rejuvenate. Because most people, like I've had comments say, well, it looks like I get it looks like I get a vacation every 91 days. Almost like they look at the 91 day, okay, cool, I get a vacation. That's what the 91 day is telling me. But I think you'll realize that if you're actually working and you're actually doing things and you're actually moving forward, it is a lot. And you will find that those things are a necessity. Either one, you will make time for it, or your body will make time for it. You'll crash, or you'll get sick, or something will come up. Something will happen to slow you down.
That's not why I'm sick.
But I think that you're on the right track to sustain that habit and then stretch to another one. And then always if you get to a point where you're like, man, this is all I'm doing, I'm good, then talk to me.
Yeah.
We'll shape you up. Okay, so anything else as far as 91 days? I know you said that's about it, but anything, developing workout habits, it sounds like we're already on track to do so. Let's see, so no time at work. Describe for me a little bit about what that looks like. You say there's no time at work. What do you need to make time for?
Well, I get busy, so we need to make time for the structuring and the changes.
Mm-hmm.
We actually are figuring that out. I'm gonna hire an assistant.
Okay.
They're just gonna do all the dirty work for me. Just kidding, not the dirty work, just the stuff that I don't have time for. And so that we can make sure everything else is maintained too.
Okay.
It's like structuring things, making positions, the little things that need to happen and change.
So just so describe a little bit of the little things.
The little things. So I have a request log that I keep in my position binder, where if someone comes up to me and is like, we need this to happen, this to happen. I write it down, who requested it, the date, and then when they want it done by.
I see.
If they don't give me a date, then it just sits there forever. But those little things like that.
I see.
So it's either gonna go where I'm doing those things and helping things progress, and then when I get this assistant, they're going to do the things that I was doing, maintaining things, or else it's gonna be vice versa.
That's good. I actually just barely did that.
Really?
This last little bit, as we got the studio settled, then I needed to have some. It's like, collections and just different things.
That's what I'm thinking is gonna help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the AR and all that, keeping track of financials.
So I don't know if we're going to keep this inside the video, but for this sake of kind of getting an overview, what position do you hold at American Wellness?
So I hold the QEEG manager and neurocare coordinator now.
Okay.
So that I'm over the care of every patient.
I see.
So anyway, every neuro patient, not every patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Cool.
So I'm dealing with every patient that comes in, making sure they're getting what they need, walking out with what they need, know when what their plan is, making sure their plan is in line with what they need.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about last time, just those personal plans.
Yeah.
So then, I guess we've talked pretty extensively on that. In regards to the last time we talked about a VGM, how has that been going for you? Did you look into that?
I did, actually. In fact, interesting. I'm not using it for what I thought I would at first.
No, that's good.
I'm actually using it for a plan to organize me, my brother, and my mom. We've got our big acre field, a barn and bees. I'm using it to organize that whole thing. So I actually have the projects all laid out already. We're going to sit with them and come up with, is this in line with what we're all thinking? Is this what you want, Mom? Is this what you want, like, Dad,
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
So that's what I ended up using it first, and I'm figuring this is going to be a good practice round.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've done it for bigger things, smaller things, like all types of them, and it's just kind of nice to lay it out. It for sure is a lot of work when you're first getting into it and wrapping your head around it, but as the days go by and you're like, you've already thought about it, and then you go back to reference it, you're kind of like, man, I didn't even remember putting that on there. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's not even done all the way. I just have a couple of sections, and because it takes, like, when you actually get down to it, it's taking a while to really think of everything. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to call this person. There's a lot of steps.
Yeah, and for sure. And there's been times where I've filled out a VGM, like the first portion is very, very laid out, and then towards the end, then it's just kind of generalized, and I complete it out without going into those details, just for time's sake. And sometimes it's just there's unknowns, or when the project actually starts, then there's just so many more things in this one category that you thought, but then you also find out there's not as many things in this category, and so you kind of, so you really kind of gravitate towards those big ticket items, and then break them down. But
yeah, the nice thing about it was it made me realize how much, like you said last time, you really do need at the very top a vision goal. I forgot what you call it, a vision goal or something.
Yeah, so there's a vision source, and then there's like a vision statement.
Yeah, the vision source and vision statement. Those two things you have to have with, like, almost everything you do.
Yeah, and you find how critical it is to have it attached, because if you can't, it's almost like that chain. Like, if you can't chain it all the way up, then what are you doing?
Yeah, if it's not there, you're kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Floating around.
Yeah, and you're just kind of going off your own whims and your own fancies, and what you realize is that if you don't connect it to a source, then you're basically expending resources in areas where, if you look across all the stuff you should be working on, you may be taken from another vision or another thing that you really should be focusing on. But what I found that was really awesome with the VGM was that as I created them, I could hand them off. I can create something and then hand it off, or it can be that communication item to where you lay all
Yeah.
that out, and then they go through, rather than reviewing your work right now, they're reviewing the work that you did in the planning. So then they go through and they're like, okay, this is a big this is a big dead end that you might run into, or you're missing this piece and you've only put two things on there where it's actually this huge thing you don't even realize. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. It's almost like I got to a point where I realized I'm throwing all these stuff that they need to work on,
Mhm.
but I'm not giving them the tools to actually do it.
Mhm.
And so, yes, I am saying, just example, you gotta. This isn't what I've actually done, but for example, like if I tell a mechanic, like, you gotta fix this car, and they can for sure, like, they can put a bunch of effort towards it, they can do things that they need to, but if they don't have those necessary tools, then it's like they're using the wrong tool to get through
Mhm.
something. And so, partially, like, as I was making the 91 days, it was for myself, but also for that communication, and then it grew to employees. So, anyway, so I just wanted, hopefully that helped to clarify a little bit more of what this process should look like. To reiterate, and again, I think I was just nervous on the camera. What should do, you should worry about, is having them describe it and say, keep describing what that 91 days should look like. And it is very important to let them talk, to be able to get those things on your mind. Obviously, if you don't have the time to do so, you can shorten it up to whatever you need it to be shortened down to. But ideally, for you to understand what's going on inside them, you just ask them what the next 91 days looks like. You have them keep describing it until they can't describe it anymore. And then at that point, you go in and deep dive in different areas and start recommending things. And for those who are being coached, it shouldn't be a place for somebody who's being coached to say, my coach is doing it wrong or should be doing it this way. It should be that a coach, put yourself in that position the mentee should put themselves in a position to be able to get that open conversation with the coach and let them direct things how they need to go. And then if the mentee feels like there should be other things addressed, then they can use that as a communication point versus just people going on there. One person wants to go this way, one person wants to go this way. So again, with that being said, it would be good to move on to part 2 of the coaching.